It's a shame, man. It's a shame. I don't know. I honestly can't actually tell you what the issue is, but...
Filed a lawsuit against him, and we'll leave it in the hands of the lawyers.
Jake Paul demanded new fight rules to hype himself. And when Joshua did not agree with Jake rules, so now he's talking about pulling out. Anthony Joshua firmly exposes him, humiliating Jake and showing everyone who's really in control. The audience can see clearly that Jake is panicking while Joshua remains composed and dominant ahead of the fight.
In the future, I don't know what will happen. I don't know, but for the near future, I don't see it happening now. For the near future.
Anthony Joshua is sending a strong warning to Jake Paul. He's making it clear that there's no room for games or excuses, and that he will handle his job in the ring professionally. Joshua's calm yet firm stance exposes Jake Paul's bluff and puts him on notice, showing who truly controls the fight.
I have to do my job. It's the only thing that's in my mind right now. And there's no extra time in boxing. Yeah, so yes, I have to do my job, and that's what I'm just thinking about.
Eddie Hearn is clearly stunned seeing Jake Paul pull out after demanding his own fight rules. Anthony Joshua is calmly exposing him, showing that Jake Paul's theatrics and hype can't match a real champion. Hearn points out the money at stake, but Joshua is making it clear this is about skill and credibility, not hype. Eddie's shock just highlights how powerless Paul looks now.
To pull out with all the money that's been spent and for squeaky bum time is not the way forward. And I think Jake Paul's game.
Tony Bellew is exposing the reality of Jake Paul's limits. Anthony Joshua doesn't need theatrics to dominate. Paul's hype falls apart the moment real skill is involved. Bellew points out that even the slightest touch would have ended him if this were serious. Joshua is calmly dismantling all the smoke Jake Paul built around himself and proving he is the true heavyweight force, leaving Paul's bravado meaningless.
He doesn't believe that the Jake Paul fight's going to actually happen?
I'm not really sure. I don't know.
This perfectly sums up the chaos Jake Paul has created with his rules. Anthony Joshua thrives when the scripts go out the window. Paul is left exposed because real boxing doesn't bend to YouTube theatrics. On fight night, Joshua's preparation and power will leave Paul scrambling, proving that all the hype and new rules were just smoke to hide his lack of skill.
You don't know what's going to happen because it's different on that day than any other day. It just sort of scripts go.
Johnny Nelson perfectly outlines how Anthony Joshua will mentally break Jake Paul. It's not about theatrics or hype. It's about dominance and exposing weakness. Paul's self-invented rules won't protect him because Joshua can methodically dismantle him round by round. Every corner will be a nightmare for Paul, proving hype and social media bravado mean nothing against a true champion.
Doesn't need to knock him out in the first round. He needs to torture the life out of this boy for every minute of every round. So every time he goes back to the corner, he's thinking, I don't want to come out. If he quits, he'll say he's hurt his shoulder, he's hurt his hand, or he's hurt his ankle. AJ needs to beat this boy up to the point where he's saying, I don't want none of this.
Dave Allen highlights the absurdity of Jake Paul's situation. Joshua doesn't need to worry about entertainment or money. His focus is destruction and skill. Paul's safety and hype are irrelevant against a real boxer. Joshua will protect the sport by proving Paul is in over his head. The financial spectacle means nothing when talent and discipline dominate, leaving Paul humiliated.
I'm not sure because my hope is Joshua walks across, hits him a couple of times, he goes over, he gets up at the count of 10, they wave it off. Boxing's reputation is intact. Jake Paul is okay. They all make loads of money.
Tony Bellew nails the truth. Anthony Joshua dictates every second of this fight. Jake Paul's self-created hype and rules vanish when Joshua steps in. The fight is a formality because skill and experience guarantee domination. Bellew's words make it clear that Joshua can finish this at any moment, and Paul's bravado is nothing but a fragile illusion.
I don't believe it until I've seen the 10-ounce gloves on. And if Anthony Joshua does stick 10-ounce gloves on and Jake Paul is the opponent in the other corner, it ends whenever.
Pain Game exposes Jake Paul's only hope is mental tricks. Yet Anthony Joshua senses fear and weakness instinctively. Joshua is a predator, and Paul's bravado is laughable in comparison. All the hype, rules, and self-promotion can't hide the fact that facing a true champion is beyond Paul's abilities. This fight is about exposing Paul completely.
I think Jake understands that the only way he can have a prayer of doing anything good in this fight, even whether winning is even beyond the realms of possibility, to just even look good, there needs to be mental strength coming in here. If he is afraid and he is acting scared in any way, and Anthony Joshua smells that, there's a reason he's got a fucking lion tattooed on him, Anthony Joshua. He is a predator. He can't show any...
Fabio Wardley is being brutally honest. Yes, Jake Paul has some power, but it's nowhere near Anthony Joshua's level. The odds are stacked so heavily against Paul that even a lucky punch wouldn't change the outcome. Joshua's skill, timing, and experience will neutralize any chance Paul thinks he has. This fight isn't about hype or social media followers. It's about a real heavyweight testing a YouTube boxer. Paul's fantasy of catching Joshua is laughable and highlights how outclassed he truly is in every aspect.
I don't know, like, don't get me wrong. Anyone can catch anyone, and Jake Paul has proven he's got a bit of power in those hands, so he could catch him, but it seems extremely unlikely.
Duke McKenzie nails the danger Jake Paul is stepping into. Anthony Joshua's power is real, not hype. Paul's YouTube theatrics and self-imposed rules mean nothing when faced with a genuine knockout artist. Every punch from Joshua has devastating impact. McKenzie's warning underlines that Paul's hype cannot match reality. This is why Joshua dominates the narrative. He doesn't need to prove himself. Paul is already humiliated by the fact that even discussing the fight exposes how unprepared he is. Money won't save him when skill and experience are the ultimate decider.
Joshua goes into this fight with Jake Paul on a serious level and catches Jake Paul with a serious punch. He will do far more damage than that. So from a health and safety perspective, I hope the fight doesn't happen. But from a commercial perspective, the fight has to happen because this fight generates...
Johnny Nelson's words perfectly describe Joshua's strategy. It's not just about power. It's about psychological domination. Jake Paul thrives on hype, but Joshua can break that illusion round by round. This fight is a lesson in real boxing versus theatrics. Paul's bravado collapses under pressure. Joshua can control every minute, tormenting Paul and proving that all of Paul's new rules, hype, and social media stunts cannot withstand a true champion. By the end, Paul will understand that pretending to be ready is nothing compared to facing Anthony Joshua in the ring.
Them to panic up there, so then they learn the lesson to think, I ain't doing this shit again. AJ needs to torment him like a cat with a mouse. He needs to torment him. I don't mean a mouse just picking and poking, I mean punching and kicking. He needs to really damage him where he quit.
Eddie Hearn confirms the difference between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. Joshua approaches fights with focus and respect for the sport. Paul treats this like a spectacle, relying on hype and theatrics. Joshua's discipline and preparation expose Paul's lack of real fight IQ. The contrast couldn't be clearer. A true champion versus a social media fighter. Anthony Joshua's calm intensity will humiliate Paul while elevating the sport, proving that hype cannot match hard work, skill, and professional experience. Paul is out of his depth, and the audience will see it from round one.
Heavyweight, I don't think you would expect anything less from AJ. He's not mucking around, he's not laughing and joking. You know, he's relaxed, but he knows he's fighting next week on a massive stage in a fight that's very important for his career and very important for...
Adam Smith highlights the uncertainty Jake Paul thrives on, but Anthony Joshua removes doubt. There is no gray area when real skill and power face YouTube theatrics. Paul's hesitation and lack of clarity showcase his inexperience. Joshua doesn't leave room for error. The fight is a masterclass in dominance waiting to happen. Paul's self-created hype and rules are meaningless. The gray areas dissolve as soon as Joshua steps in and reminds the world that only a true champion can command respect and humiliate a pretender like Jake Paul.
It just shouldn't happen, but we don't know. As with all these things, there's always a grey area, isn't there? But
Deontay Wilder lays it out clearly. Jake Paul has faced YouTube fighters and hype opponents, but never a true professional like Anthony Joshua. All his tricks, stunts, and self-imposed rules are meaningless against a real heavyweight champion. Joshua brings real technique, timing, and power that Paul cannot script. This fight is the ultimate reality check for Paul, who relies on social media theatrics. Wilder's warning highlights that this is not a show for Paul to dominate. It is a genuine test that exposes every weakness. Anthony Joshua doesn't need hype. He simply needs the ring to humiliate Paul and teach him the meaning of real boxing.
The first time that we see Paul, fighting an active fighter. We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, It's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional, and so we'll see how it ends up. Like I said, I think it's scripted, but
Anthony Joshua reveals the depth of his approach. He doesn't just aim to hit Jake Paul, he aims to break him mentally. Paul thrives on confidence and hype, but Joshua will systematically dismantle that facade. This is a psychological masterclass as much as a physical fight. Paul's self-made rules and bravado cannot withstand Joshua's focus and intelligence. The mental game is where Paul will truly be humiliated. Every feint, punch, and round is calculated to dominate, frustrate, and expose Paul for what he is, a YouTube entertainer out of his depth. Joshua's strategy ensures Paul's ego will crumble long before the final bell.
If I can break his soul and I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. So this is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint.
Carl Froch perfectly captures Anthony Joshua's devastating power. Every punch is explosive, precise, and capable of ending the fight instantly. Jake Paul's bravado and so-called mental toughness are meaningless when faced with real knockout power. Joshua's gym work translates directly into the ring, and Paul has never faced anything close to this. This is why all his hype, theatrics, and self-imposed rules fall flat. The audience will see the difference between real world-class boxing and a YouTube sensation pretending to compete. Joshua's impact is felt from the first bell, and Paul will discover very quickly that he is completely outmatched in every way.
Fucking mule. He's a big puncher knocking people out in the gym. I've seen him sparring, and every time he hits somebody, it's like they've had the stung on it.
Roy Jones Jr. confirms the inevitable. Jake Paul may have some intelligence and power, but Anthony Joshua's experience and skill are in a different league. Paul is in a world he cannot control, and trying to catch Joshua is laughable. Every movement, punch, and counter from Joshua is calculated to dominate. Paul's hype and rules are meaningless against decades of professional expertise. This is a complete mismatch in preparation, skill, and power. The audience will witness Joshua effortlessly neutralizing Paul, while Paul scrambles to survive. This fight proves once again that hype cannot overcome true championship class.
Jake will definitely knock him out. Because, don't get it wrong, Jake's smart, and Jake does have the power if he can catch him first. He knows if he can catch AJ first, he can get AJ out. But he don't catch AJ first, just like Ngannou couldn't catch him first.
Commentary. The stakes in this fight could not be higher, as Anthony Joshua is set to expose everything Jake Paul pretends to be, while Paul has no real chance to compete on a professional level. Joshua's power, experience, and strategic mind make him a predator in the ring, while Paul relies on hype, social media tricks, and self-imposed rules that cannot withstand a true champion. If Anthony Joshua wins, it will cement his dominance and remind the world why he is a world-class heavyweight. If, by some miracle, Jake Paul shocks everyone, it will be one of the most unbelievable upsets in boxing history, But the reality is, Joshua's mental strength and relentless approach make that nearly impossible. Paul cannot match the focus, discipline, or physicality of Joshua, and the fight will serve as a humbling lesson. Are you backing Anthony Joshua, or is Jake Paul pulling the upset? Drop your thoughts below.